Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us once again. I'm Laura Jewett with the Inspired Living Real Estate Collective with Platinum Living Realty. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm so excited to be with Jonathan Waterworth. He's the owner of Arizona Energy Efficient Home. So I'm really excited for this segment. I think we're going to learn a lot about how we can do better to make our homes more energy efficient and make the planet a better place at the same time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me,
Yeah,
Laura.
absolutely. So tell us in a nutshell kind of what energy home auditor does and what it entails.
So, home performance with Energy Star audit is what I've been doing for close to 14 years now, working with the Department of Energy's Home Performance with Energy Star program, provide this service for homeowners that are APS and SRP customers. What we do is we come in with diagnostic equipment to measure various things that are going on with the house to find and identify the waste that was built into it. Typically, a house has on average 30% waste built into it. Some
Wow,
more, some less. It just depends on what's going on in the house
that's a little
and
shocking.
how the and what the codes were at the time that the house was built,
Sure,
right? So
sure.
obviously codes have improved over time to make houses more energy efficient, but that does not mean that a house that was built in 2019 doesn't have any energy efficiency issues or doesn't still have 30% waste built into it, shockingly, right? So what we do is we primarily deal a lot with pressures. Pressures tell us pretty much what is going on inside the house, and so we use a blower door for that.
Okay.
And then so the common things that we're measuring is your envelope leakage. How leaky is the envelope of the
Okay.
house, the shell of the envelope, right?
Mm-hmm.
We grew up in houses before there was these energy efficiency codes that were really drafty, right? So that was inefficient, right? Because then our units had to work, AC had to work harder to maintain comfort. So now we're building houses tighter. So we're measuring that tightness level, the building tightness
Right.
level.
Yeah, I remember growing up, we had the door sock that we
Yeah,
had that we put at the base of the door to keep the,
yeah.
the air from coming in.
We used to shrink wrap our windows.
Oh my
Right? You
gosh.
didn't have to do that with the
No,
shrink
yeah,
wrap. Yeah,
we didn't
with
do
the dryer every winter,
that.
shrink wrap your windows. But you could see how drafty those windows were because they would pillow out, right? So we're measuring for that envelope leakage. Now, interesting enough, uh, most people think that the loss that we have is the infiltration from weather stripping or windows and doors. That's rarely the case, right?
Wow.
So most of our infiltration is coming from the attic space, right? So we
Wow.
get our
Okay.
air changes from the attic
Mhm.
space. It's really less about weather stripping and doors and windows. So think of it. In the summertime when it's 110 degrees outside, you keep your house at, let's say, 80 degrees, right? But the attic is 150 degrees.
Right.
There's a greater delta T difference in temperature between the attic and the conditioned space than from outside to
Outside.
the conditioned space, and
Yeah,
air
that makes sense.
moves from the greatest difference in temperature. So how does that get into our house? Can lights. Every can light is equivalent to a 1-inch hole, right? Top plate penetrations where the wires come down to the switches and outlets behind your registers. Typically, they don't caulk in that drywall duct boot
Right.
connection behind the registers. Um, so those are the common areas of infiltration in our house, which, breathing your attic air is not a good source of air, right? So
True.
there's dust, there's pest proteins, right? There's
I'm sure insulation fibers and
insulation, chemicals from cellulose insulation, fire retardants. There's a lot of different things, right?
hmm
You could have other issues going on, a vent stack issue where you have maybe potential buildup of gases, right? Sewer gases in that attic, and then it gets into your house because you're getting your air from the
okay.
attic. So we want to identify those issues.
Okay.
And then the other thing that we will check for is duct leakage, right? So
Sure.
again, they didn't really start sealing up their duct connections in new construction until recently. So
Which just seems
everything,
very
right,
odd.
right. And even current swap outs, they don't even always do their seal up their connections, which is a travesty, right?
hmm
Um, but it's the cold hard facts, right? So we want to identify any potential opportunities for duct sealing.
Okay.
So, and then we're doing room pressures. So it's very common because of kids and pets that people close interior doors. So we want to check room pressures. Um, if I was to ask you which is the least efficient door in the house between the front door, the sliding door, the doggy door, or the bedroom door, which would you pick?
Probably pick the doggy door.
That most people would.
But I'm guessing it's the bedroom door.
You're correct. It is the
Okay.
bedroom door. So when you close interior doors, you're pressurizing those rooms. And when you pressurize those rooms, you're preventing new cooling from entering that room because there's back pressure against that supply register, right? So then you actually create comfort issues because you don't have free flowing air in and out of those rooms.
Right. Okay.
Then you're also starving the return that's typically out in the hallway or main body of the house of the air that's in multiple bedrooms.
Stuck in those
So
rooms.
then that return is going to make up that air from somewhere, right? And it's going to start pulling a negative pressure on the main body of the house, drawing more of that infiltration in from the attic space. So you're compounding that problem.
So keep our doors open. So
or you have a room pressure relief system like jump ducts, or you have returns in those rooms.
Okay.
And so the other most important thing, first and foremost, is that we check for any safety issues. So we'll check combustion appliance zones to see if there's any potential safety issues with backdrafting or gas leaks or carbon monoxide, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we've been hearing a lot lately in the news about, the possibility of banning gas appliances in the home and type of thing that, not properly ventilating those can definitely be an issue.
Absolutely. It's surprising that how many homes I go into that have gas ranges or cooktops that don't have proper exhaust ventilation.
Sure.
And everybody, assumes that it's installed and vented to the outside, and not surprised when it's not installed. And then also, I think all cooktops should be ventilated because you're still producing harmful chemicals into the house when you're cooking, right? Whether it's gas or electric.
Sure.
Really, their focus is on the potential CO off gas of cooking with gas, but that's really not what it is. It's the other things that are cooking off in your foods, oils, right? Water vapors, all that stuff that gets really deep into your lungs and circulates throughout your blood system. So that happens with electric cooktops too. I think all cooktops should be ventilated. And that's where our industry has kind of been pushing for many, many years now.
So maybe, I guess just a tip to have the vent on when you are cooking. Make sure that it's properly ventilated, or that it's not just venting back into the house or into the room, as a lot of them I think do.
Like the microwaves.
The microwave ones that just kind of
it just blows it right back in your face. Yeah, at that point I'd say don't turn it on.
Don't turn it on. But if you have a properly vented
to the outside,
to the outside, to have that on when you're cooking, whether it's gas or electric.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Good tip. Yeah. So what's one of the most interesting things you've found during an energy audit in a home?
Well, there's a lot of different things, whether it's old memorabilia or signs or left beer cans from when they, back in the day in the 70s when they would construct houses and drink beer at the same time.
Take their breaks and
that kind of stuff. But then as far as, what we're there to look for, I mean, completely uninsulated areas of houses or unconnected ductwork and, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of different things, but I'd say that's...
Yeah, it's amazing. And we've done new construction, inspections just to kind of verify if we need to do a punch list for the builder, and no insulation in the attic, just wasn't done. That house got skipped. So you never know. So even with a brand new construction house, you just never know. So I think that's kind of the moral of the story, is that, it never take for granted that, it just because like you said, it's a new construction house, that there's not gaps in the system.
Yeah, people just assume that everything was done
correctly and
that's right,
up to par. So that someone didn't have an off day when they were doing the duct work or So,
Yeah.
well, perfect. So what are well, I think we kind of already discussed that the largest problem areas for energy loss is the attic type of thing.
Mhm.
So, um, but I think there's still some merit to checking door seals and all of those things as well. But like you said, not as much into window replacement. So you're not coming in and saying, oh, you need to replace all these windows and, or, get solar, or,
No,
you're not coming
no,
in trying to sell people on things.
no. In fact, it's quite the opposite.
Uh-huh.
So, most people have been marketed for the last 70, 80 years that if you have comfort issues or high electric bills, that you call either the window contractor or the AC
Yeah,
contractor.
100%.
And each one of them will come out and promise you a 30% reduction in costs. And that's just not true. Neither one of those will do 30% on its own. A lot of times it's, 5% on either of those cases. So we're able to do 30 to 40%, but we're doing like five, six, seven different things that each will give you 5%. But when you do a whole house approach, then you add those up,
You,
and that's how
you get
we're
the
achieving that
cumulative
30 to
effect.
40% reduction. It's
Okay.
doing all those different things. So that's crucial. I've even had customers find me and call me after they've replaced all their windows and replaced their AC systems, and were just horrified that the thought that their bills didn't go down or change. In fact,
Right.
some of them went up.
Up. Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, not surprised. And they're kind of
They're like,
flabbergasted
what the
that I'm
heck?
not shocked. It's
Yeah.
like, well, that was never the problem to begin with, right? So it's usually envelope issues that create more demand on your AC, and that's the highest consumer of electricity is your AC
Especially in
systems,
Arizona. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So, if all you do is change the box, you're not fixing the
The
problem, you're
problem.
not changing the demand, right? So
Yeah.
you really have to get control of your envelope, and then you have to get control of your mechanical, and then you will start seeing improvements, and then you will start seeing also improved comfort and improved indoor air quality. So I've been focusing on health and safety with energy efficiency for basically, the 12, 13 years that I've been doing this. I realized really early on that when I was going in and making energy efficiency improvements, I was improving people's um, health because they had
Absolutely.
respiratory issues and stuff like that. And we've eliminated a lot of those triggers, and they started feeling better. So I've really kind of got more education on that and ran with that and put a health as part of my primary focus along with the energy efficiency stuff. So
So
we
you
do
save money, improved health.
absolutely
I mean, what more could you ask for,
comfort,
right?
right?
Comfort.
So, I
Absolutely.
mean, what's comfort worth, right? What is improved health worth, right? What is knowing that everything has been checked in your house is safe? So, a lot of people come at it with just, how can I save a little bit of money on my house? That's easy. I can
Yeah.
do that in my sleep. But if I can interview you and then realize that, you have an asthmatic child in your house that has these triggers all the time, I'm going to hone in on that and try to figure out what those are and offer a solution to fix that. And I've been very successful over the many many years of doing this, of getting asthmatic kids off of their inhalers
Yes.
and meds and out of the doctor's office and all that stuff.
Well, I think we just, yeah, again, we just kind of take for granted that, how much our environment and everything
Yeah,
impacts our health and what we eat and everything else. And it's like, so if we can, your home, you spend so much time in your home, and especially I work from home, so
hmm
I'm here
yeah,
all the time. And I think, that we've kind of trended that way with a lot of people working from home. So you're spending a large majority of your time
right.
in this space that you better ensure that it's,
That your environment
mid.
is healthy, and people just assume that their homes are healthy.
Hmm.
There's if
Well, they
you
think they're clean.
yeah
I clean my house, it's clean, and they assume that clean equates to healthy, and that's not necessarily the
there's
case.
there's high potential for VOCs, volatile organic compounds,
Hmm.
in your house. So and other things, carbon monoxide. Our typical carbon monoxide alarms and monitors that we buy off the shelf, they
Hmm.
start notifying us at 30 parts per million, which is a federal threshold,
Regulation
right?
for sure.
But you could have a constant saturation of 28 parts per million, and thing will never go off. And that long time exposure, headaches and flu-like symptoms and stuff, you wouldn't even know. So
Oh.
There's a lot of different things that can go on in your house and do go on in your house, and most people just aren't aware of. They just haven't thought of it in a different way.
Sure. No,
So,
that makes absolute sense. I think everybody needs to call you immediately.
well,
So,
it'd be a good start.
awesome. So what are, I mean, in the interim between calling you and getting a professional home audit done, what are some small things that homeowners can do to kind of just, offset some of their risks? I think we talked about some of those things like, having proper ventilation when they're cooking,
Mhm.
keeping bedroom doors open, that type of thing. Are there any other little tips or tricks that you could suggest?
Yeah, so obviously we want to eliminate that 30 to 40% waste potential that
Hmm.
was built into the house. And then when you do that, you're set up for success for load shifting strategies. Okay, load shifting strategies is basically putting most of your demand during off-peak hours
Sure.
versus on-peak hours. So you want to be on the right rate plan. That is crucial. And when we do that, after we've come in and retrofitted the house, we're seeing an additional 15 to 25% savings on top of the 30 and 40 that we've just trimmed out of the house.
Just
So that's
by
huge,
just by
right?
monitoring when things are being used
Shifting,
and
so
shifting
smart thermostats and getting them programmed
properly. Yeah,
properly around
which
your rate plan.
that's a whole feat in and of itself trying to
Yeah.
figure those suckers
And
out.
that's
So
basically a
yeah.
timer on the
Hmm.
biggest consuming, a piece of
Component.
equipment that
Hmm.
you have, your AC system. The other one is the water heater, right? So putting timers on your water heater, we don't need that water heater engaging, 3 times every hour, 24 hours a day, right?
Right.
So things like that is another thing that they can do to start reducing their loads.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, what is the best way for people to get in contact with you to get scheduled?
Well, there's a couple ways. So our website is azenergyefficienthome.com, and our phone number is 623-581-5298 or 480-471-0111.
We'll provide all of that
Yeah,
contact information for
yeah, and
everybody.
then
But
you can just give us a call, and we're going to ask you what's going on, what your concerns are, and what your goals are, and then we're going to take it from there.
so, what is the process if somebody does want to have an energy home audit done?
So the process is to give us a call. We'll get it scheduled, but there's two paths you can go by,
Okay.
right? So there's two paths. One is that we can come out and set up all the equipment and measure all those things. So if you really want, a detailed report that states, your envelope leakage is X amount of CFM, your duct leakage is X amount of CFM, and stuff like that, that would be the path to go. We're going to definitely be doing a lot of that with a performance path. So with the new Inflation Reduction Act, there's a lot of federal incentives that are now available in 2023 moving forward. And some of that is prescriptive and some of it is performance. So anyone that is going to be working with us is probably going to be pushed down the performance path. And so we would want to do all that stuff because it's all third party verified and all that stuff, because there's really significant rebates and tax credits involved with the performance path. The prescriptive path, it's lower, as far as your rebates. um, so the other path is we can do a characterization study. So I would come out, spend about an hour, hour and a half in the house. I'd be looking and identifying all those typical things that I've been seeing for the past 14 years, right? Um, and then I would, make my scope of work based off of what I found. Um, if someone's been doing it as long as I have, you don't necessarily need to be doing all that blower store stuff if all you want to know is what is wrong, what is it going to cost to fix, right? Yeah.
Sure. Well, from realtors' perspective, having these types of assessments done and this type of work done to make your home energy efficient and that type of thing and reducing the power load, that's a huge selling point. So that, I think that brings value that can increase the property value as well. So,
Mhm.
that's where my brain obviously always goes too. So, I think there's just so many different, like we were saying, different advantages to having this done. A lot of them financial, a lot of them health, a lot of them comfort. It's just it covers the whole gamut. So,
Well, it kind of works on both sides of the coin for real estate agents like yourself. So if you're a seller's agent, right? if you had this done and had everything corrected that was
Right.
found, you can present that,
Right.
right?
As a
And
selling
show that
advantage.
as, that's the advantage you have buying this house versus the house down the street that hasn't been touched, right?
Right.
And then as a buyer's agent having this done, we can go in and identify any issues that are out of code or that should be done,
Right.
and then you can use that
as leverage for repairs or
right.
price reductions. Absolutely. That's amazing. Well, again, I hope everybody reaches out to Jonathan. I think he has such an incredible service to offer all of us. I know I will be pursuing having our home inspected. So thank you guys so much for joining us once again. We really appreciate it. Again, I'm Laura Jewett with the Inspired Living Real Estate Collective. If you have any real estate needs that we can assist you with, please reach out. And if you have a small business that would like to be interviewed, please reach out as well. Thanks so much.
Thank you.